Today, we're talking about how to thrive as a student. And the summary idea is, of course, you can write papers, but you can also write grants and you can help companies. And by doing so, or interacting with executives now, inviting them to classes or planning your class papers or activities with a company you respect, there is a much higher chance of you being successful and employed with that company, working with that company. So how can we do it? We have the 40 hours each week that some people work or study, and then everybody is sleeping approximately the same, 8 hours a night. So everybody has almost twice as much time left over than they usually work, still extra available. So you could have 3 full-time jobs, and most people barely struggle through one. So we're going to talk about how to use this time wisely. Obviously, we're going to be assigning your passion and your skills and the market needs. If you don't plan this stuff, if you don't think about it very much, a lot of research shows that that is equal to planning to fail. So use today to start thinking about how you're going to plan and get ahead. The big picture is understand your environment. A lot of the international students are students that are from outside Korea. You're in Korea maybe for the first time. I can tell you, I am from outside Korea, and I've been here since 1995, off and on. And I can guarantee you have a lot more opportunities here, easier to get than in many other countries around the world. In your home country, you probably blend in and nobody notices you. Here, you stand out. So use that to your advantage. You can just walk into companies or phone top executives and start talking to them. Usually, the companies or executives might block strangers, but because you're a non-Korean, that's kind of like a VIP, you might be able to just walk in. So use that for your career. Think about the activities or jobs that associate with your happiest thoughts and do more of it. Talk about in groups and with friends or me if you want. What are your worst thoughts? What are your best thoughts? And how can you focus in on those details? The idea of a mind map. We talked about it a little bit, but I haven't heard students talk about it too much. And I've heard many students say they don't know what they want to do in the future. So if you just take a blank piece of paper and write down your main interests and characteristics on the page, no job titles, that can be used when you flip it over to identify your main job matches or career or professional matches that would align to you. So simply take the idea of your characters and capabilities and align it with your careers and your personalities. And then at the bottom of this sheet, I have several different links. One of them here is professional and personal development planning. So it's bit.ly personal / or dash planning. This is the core of an MBA class I teach in England with Sunderland University and some other universities around the world, joint program. If you go through it, you can see things like, first of all, this is my resume if anybody wanted to go through and see some of these details. If you had any questions, this is the email that I sent today, and you can go through, and this link in the email I sent you is similar to the talk I'm giving now, but today, hopefully, we'll be able to modify some of the details. The link that I just showed you here is for the study pack for Sunderland University MBA students talking about personal and professional development. How can they do that? And if you start with looking at page about 14, 15, 16, there's quite a lot of information. So here, You can go through a skills audit. A lot of people don't know what skills you have. So if you follow this form, and there's a lot of paper, more than 100 pages here, it will identify what skills you have. Same thing for your personal development planning. What can you do? And your learning styles, your meeting styles, presentation styles. If we go through it, these are activities or tasks you can do to help identify your skills and abilities. For example, almost everybody knows a SWOT analysis. It's very basic, it's very easy. It's your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You should do many of these, but also think about your environment. What this is showing, if you look kind of sideways, you can see this is your personal development plan, the idea of your learning and development needs. And there's quite a bit to that. And how does this support the company that you want to work for? You should be researching the company you want to work with in the future immediately, as soon as possible, to find out what is their culture, find out what is their needs, and start developing yourself to match that. So these are some examples of things you can go through for that. Another thing I'm going to be talking about, I just finished telling you how to do a mind map to identify your abilities and possible careers. But in addition to the many different personalities and careers, there's many different learning styles. So there's a pragmatist learning style, there's a theorist learning style, activist learning style, reflector learning style, many different types of learning styles, and many different types of communication styles. And there's several different activities that you can go through, and it will help identify them. In here, for example, when it's asking you your type, this says, when you enter a new situation, do you immediately pick out familiar elements and link them to your own experiences? Yes or no? So if you go through this, at the end, it will identify more of your capabilities and characteristics. This is different, but related to Carl Jung's typology test, personality test, your psychology type tests, your characteristic test, your abilities. If you go through this, it will identify these 16 different codes, which very easily identify your personality, but they also match to your careers, to your abilities, to your dating preferences, to your communication styles, and everybody's different, and your learning styles, which people are different also. So go through those. Again, this is at humanmetrics.com. I'm not going to be spending too much time teaching that this year, but I really want you to go through it and try to talk about it in class, because I promise you it can help your career development. Next, in addition to humanmetrics.com, here is 16personalities.com. It's the same type of thing, but when you go through, you will see that some people have a analyst type of personality, or architect, or logician, or commander, debater. And it shows, for example, some people have certain types of jobs that match them. And if you are not aligned to that, you may have a lot more career difficulties. So with that said, those are the links. I encourage you, go through it. Again, the links are here at bit.ly/student-tips, and you can get those details here. After you have done this, again, you could click on this link, which shows you these MBA files to identify your personal and professional characteristics. Then you should be able to go through, and a summary is there's 9 steps to create a personal development plan. If you don't have a plan for yourself, you're not using your time wisely. You can get a lot more beneficial results if you do these things wisely. So define your goals, prioritize your goals and what you're going to do each day, and then set deadlines, understand these strengths. All of these are here. You can read them. and it matches the same time as what I just said. Identify your personality and your characteristics, the humanmetrics.com or 16 personalities, and your learning style and your communication style. Because any of those, if you don't fully understand them, you will probably be going down the wrong road, and you will be developing yourself for something that might not match you. Or you will be talking to somebody and not understand they have a different personality or a different learning style or a different communication style, and you will see difficulties and you will just think they are strange. When the reality is, it's you that doesn't understand yourself and how you connect to the other person. So with this said, we have a few people here today. Jessica, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Do you have goals for yourself already set up, Jessica?
Yes, I do basically. So I'm definitely planning on studying more, doing my master's, and eventually also a PhD. But I'm not quite sure in which university or which country I want to do it. But definitely in my field of studies, I want to stay in that.
So what you're talking about is just short-term activities, not long-term goals, right? You may be living, who knows, 150 years by the time you guys get older. So you are just planning maybe 5 years ahead. You will get much better results when you start going through and planning at least 10, if not 20 years into the future. And not just thinking about those, but writing them down. And we'll talk more about them. Does that make sense, Jessica?
Yeah, it does. It's just hard to think that much into the future.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. You said it's hard to do what?
To look that much into the future and plan it, because I think most of us are pretty young and we don't have that much experience to be able to decide what we want to do or not, or at least for me it's like that. I haven't tried enough to be sure what I want to be in 20 or 30 years.
Great. So you should be taking photos of my screen right now. The idea of the Bitly personal planning shows you some of these things. This assignment file shows you some of these different things. And the idea, as we said here, this 16 personalities or the human metrics, they will show you perhaps your future. It's almost like fortune telling. And if you go through them, that idea here of the personal planning, when you get into this file that I've developed over, I think it's 141 pages. This file will survey yourself about how you learn, how you plan, how you communicate, how you talk, how you write, how you lead other people. And they're not hard. It's all very simple, easy stuff. But if you do go through this, it will tell you with great accuracy what is your future. And so it helps you identify and prepare for what you want to do. And is that clear? Does that help you in some sense? Just these links here alone should take away a lot of your uncertainty. What about you, Yebin Park Yebin? Do you have a written long-term plan, goals?
No, I haven't tried anything about my future goals, but um, the big topics I sometimes write. What will I do within a 1 year plan, but not for the long-term plan.
So that means failing to plan
Planning to fail.
Planning to fail, right? This is not a class requirement. You don't have to do it for any class. I'm just telling you, I am over 50 years old and I've seen thousands of students, and and I research, and it's a fact. The people that write these details down become much more successful and much happier than the people that don't. Not always. There are outliers, but the research shows almost all people that write these plans down become happier and more successful. And it's not hard. It should not be stressful, especially if you just go through like this. It's just writing down on a blank piece of paper with friends. You can be crazy drunk, and you flip it over, and that could identify a job. And of course, this is just 60 questions talking about yes, no. So Jessica or Gulcano or Yabin, have you done these tests before?
Yes, I actually done the personality test like
And
a few times over the last few, let's say, years.
and have you followed up with it? Have you checked after you found your code, which, for example, here is one of the personality types? Have you gone back into Google to check that code and what type of career it matches or how it matches you in the future?
I haven't checked what kind of career it matches, but like what like certain things those type of personalities are good in and better.
Okay. If you do talk about those details in class, that is as valuable as finding a Scopus article. So if you show some of that in class, I'll give you bonus points, maybe 2 full bonus points to help with your grade, because I know it can help your future. I'm not going to push too much on it. If you have questions, please let me know. Other than just going through those quizzes and making your goals and prioritizing, what I mean by prioritizing is Q4. Do you guys remember me talking, or do you know about what is Q4 planning? Ulukbek or any of you? Everything in life is either urgent or important. It can be non-urgent or non-important. So you should be making a square with the 4 quarters, and on the top it is important things, and on the bottom it's not important. On one side it's urgent, and on the other side it's not urgent. And a lot of people seem to think whatever is urgent and important is the best, but that is not true. What is most important, and all of your career details, and even sleeping or eating and playing with friends and studying, career development, all of those things should be in your important and not urgent box, and you should do those before anything else. And everything else, unless it's an emergency like an accident, then you do those after you finish that first quadrant. So let's just go through a couple of other differences that you might not like. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, but here's an example of the research that I probably assume none of you students know of. Kolb is a scientist. He's a researcher that he has identified many different learning styles of people all around the world. And in general, it shows that people have distinctive learning needs and preferences. You have to be aware of them. You have to adjust your work and yourself to best fit your needs and, of course, your client's needs or your staff needs or your boss's needs. The learning styles, they are individual ways people prefer to process information and strategies. People are different, and so there's no one strategy to give top results for all individuals. And so Dr. Kolb, he identified some people have a diverging learning style or assimilating learning style or converging learning style, accommodating learning style. That's just an example. I'm not going to waste too much time now. If you want, you can ask questions. In addition to that, there are other researchers like Honey. Dr. Honey and Dr. Mumford, they also refined this and specialized it. And they said that what are you and your colleagues' learning preferences? You should know this so you can make communications more interesting, more engaging, and more beneficial, more fruitful. So identify, are you an activist, a reflector, a pragmatist, or a theorist? If you don't understand these, there is a high chance that you are trying to learn in a way that doesn't match you. And if you don't know these, learning is going to be much less enjoyable. If you do match your style and you understand your teacher's style or other people, your boss's style, it will be a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable. You will like to develop, and things will turn out very, very different. Here is more information, just summarizing. I'm not going to read through everything today. You have the link to this this file. Again, the link is bit.ly/student-tips. And this defines what is the activist learning style, theorist learning style, pragmatist, reflectors, etc. One thing that's a little bit interesting is they go through and where is it here? Yes, with Kolb, he actually did his research and he found that the converger learning style is the main method of learning and preferred method for most medical school students. And the diverger learning style and accommodator learning style are the least preferred for medical students. So if your teacher is using the diverger or accommodator and you are different, you will feel uncomfortable in medical school. Obviously, we're not in medical school, so that's just a tip. Start identifying your own, and it can change your life around. Other than that, the idea is success overall comes not just from hard work. There are many, many millions of people, maybe countless people are harder workers than me and smarter than I am, but perhaps I'm more successful than they are. And it's not because I'm the brainiac. Make sure you understand hard work is not everything. You need to learn that game. And then overall, if you put in 10,000 hours, that will help. So this book, The Outliers, explains that. And this is the summary of the 10,000 hour rule. You should be using your time today, this week, this month, this year, this school term, to be using your hours to develop yourself for your future success. I assume all of you already know how to make a resume and have applied for several different jobs and how you can introduce yourself. One of the reasons why I'm talking about this is the same thing when you're going to contact a company. I want you to contact companies. I want you to contact a very special VIP and interact with them. Do your student project with them or bring them in for talking with our class. But before you just start writing a note, there is research that you should follow. The first thing is, before you write anything, you must search their background. What is the company's background? What is that specific person's interest? What does he want and need, or what does she want and need? And try to make something that they will like. Find something of mutual benefit and try to just talk about those things, especially at the beginning. And so your note, if you don't have those hugely research-supported, mutually beneficial results, keywords in your letter is probably going to be deleted or ignored. So that's just one type of thing. And also know, before you interact with somebody, especially if you don't have experience, you might want to be doing the research about how to make the meeting go well, how to make the interview go well. You could do a role play. For example, before you send the note to Elon Musk, if you want to work and interact with Elon Musk, perhaps you can draft the note, send it to a professor, maybe send it to me, and benefit from the significant experience that the professor or some other executive has to make that note maybe more attractive to attracting Elon Musk, something like that. Things like this. Sometimes, especially Elon Musk, when you interact with them, they will ask basic questions. And because their time is so incredibly valuable, as soon as you start getting off topic, they will probably delete the email or hang up the phone or stop interacting with you. Another example, simple example that you probably know is during job interviews, a lot of people will ask you, what are some of your problems or what are some of your weaknesses? And that's a game. It's just a trick. They don't want to know that you're a criminal or a drug dealer or some crazy bad person. You should be prepared for that and know certain acceptable answers. So, Ulugh, if we are in a job interview and I ask you, what are your problems? What can you tell me that is a good answer? What is your problem, Ulugh? And next, what is your problem, Gulkano? After Ulugh says it, then Gulkano can answer the same question. Go ahead.
I have never thought about it.
Really?
Yes.
Have you ever had a company interview before?
Not yet.
There we go. Almost all companies, especially for like students and low level, they would ask simple questions like this. No problem. Let's go through. What about Gulkano? Can you tell me what is your problem or great weakness?
I also hadn't had an interview yet, but I can say that.
Good. Guess.
My big problem may be working in a team.
Wrong answer. Wrong answer. Right? Because almost all jobs will probably require you to work with other people. And if you start by saying you can't work with other people, you're probably not going to be hired. Conversation over. Understand? This is a game. So, Jessica, can you guess, or can any of you guess, what should you be saying? What are some acceptable answers?
I feel like you should always say something where you can immediately tell him how you can solve the problem. Like, for example, I remember I think I once said something like, I feel like I don't know a lot about my field of study now, but that's exactly why I'm going to study it and why I'm going to learn about it more.
Okay, so a problem is you don't know enough about your future. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, but you do see that... You farting, Jessica?
No, I'm on the street.
You do see that also could make it look like you're not prepared. And so here is a possible answer. I'm a workaholic. Or sometimes one problem I have is I get too focused. When I start doing some activity or doing a job, and I keep doing it until it's finished. And sometimes friends want to party or friends want to have dinner together and they get angry at me because I just keep working and I skip the dinner party. So that is a problem, but for work, it's a good thing, right?
But do they believe you, this kind of stuff? Because I always get told that if you tell them such answers, it's just like the normal go-to answer and they won't believe that it's actually true.
Okay, well, you should never lie, that's for sure. But don't say a bad thing that they will turn away from. For me, for example, it's the weekend. I'm supposed to be drinking and partying with friends, and here I am working with you because I like helping you guys. So I am like a workaholic. I love my job. So to me, it's true. And you should be able to come up with examples to describe it. So that's a good point. Never lie. If anybody catches you lying or cheating, yeah, your career is finished. But these are good examples. Understand? So just what I'm saying is, before you interact with Elon Musk, before you interact with somebody that you want to interview, before you interact with a company for a job interview, think about what you could be saying and what they could be saying, what are proper answers, and make sure you are talking about only things that are mutually beneficial. So don't talk about how you're addicted to cocaine and stealing things, or I like shooting small animals for fun. Those things will scare the people away. Everything must be mutually beneficial. So the next thing is, after you do think about their background, you should be thinking about, for example, in our class, I really want you guys to plan to bring in some guest speakers for your benefit, not mine. I have met enough fancy people. I like meeting nice people, but I really don't care. You could next think about what to say to them, how to invite them. And so a lot of students, for example, if you do want to contact Elon Musk, you could say, hi, I am a student. I just want you to, but soon as those people hear you're a student, especially in Korea, they may hang up on you, because a lot of older people or older executives in Korea think students have no real world experience. And if they think a person with no experience is trying to waste their time, they're just going to hang up the phone. So plan what you're going to say. Don't say you're a student. Say you're with a research team, right? There's 20,000 researchers in Kakao University, or our university. There's 20 or 30 team members in our group, otherwise known as our class. But you don't need to say student. You don't need to say class. They could hurt your image in those meetings. So something like, I have been researching that topic for a while. It's possible for my research group to update details and research that topic you are working on if you think it will be interesting. For example, we already have 30 different, very exclusive, expensive research files on this topic. I'm not sure if you're using Scopus files, but each one of those Scopus articles is what, $30 to $50, and we have many. And so perhaps we could develop together as an informal partnership and refine this so it is more useful for you. That type of thing, saying we have many people working on our group and we're already using valuable material for your interests, is much better than just saying, I'm a student and I'm going gaga goo goo when I think about your career. Understand? So think about those things and how you can say them. Next, overall, you should be thinking about the long-term plan, what you want 10 or even 20 years in the future, and then work backwards. If you do that in half of that time, so start with 20 years and half of that time, 10 years, 5 years, half that time, if you keep working backwards to today, it gets much easier to get to your success and your big dream goals. So I encourage you guys, and I've already promised the students that share your personality codes, the MBTI personality index. If you share and explain that in class, I'll give you 2 points bonus. If you start sharing these type of activities, details to get up several of these steps, I will give you bonus points to help your grade. I have no problem giving students 100% in your university course. Once you get down to your daily activities, then you get into this book, which is The First Things First by Stephen Covey. And again, as I said, you should focus on what is not urgent, but very important. And those are your activities to get your dreams. Have any of you read this book, First Things First? Are you aware of this Q4 matrix? Q1, 2, 3, 4? No? This idea here. Gulcano, have you gone through this before?
No,
No? Okay.
just from your class.
As we have seen that you have, 168 hours every week, and about more than 70, almost 80 hours are free time. Most of you don't know you have that 80 hours free time because it gets wasted. It gets wasted by checking text messages or doing things that are not important, trivial busy work, junk mail, time wasters. you should be avoiding those. As soon as you identify what they are, then you can start focusing on these things up here that are important but not urgent. And this will almost guarantee getting you to your point of success and your goals much faster. And these are just more examples of what goes in here. Your study tasks, your dream tasks, your social tasks, playing with friends, sleeping, studying, even sex, drinking, meals. All of these things are important to you. And like playing with friends is. If you don't have a social life, you will go crazy and maybe suicidal. So you have to have a balanced career, but make sure you don't waste all of those 80 extra hours every week. And everything that is not important, you should be learning to say no. But many people, let's say maybe Jessica or Yebin, maybe you're too polite to say no to other people. So if you always say, yes, I will help you as soon as you help me finish these Q1 tasks. So we only have a few to do today. As soon as you help me finish this, then I will do your bullshit things later. So that will make a big difference with you. Other than that, there's several notes in here that you can go through at any time if you're interested. Overall, you see some commonalities. Be proactive. This is an example. Some people have gone through the MBTI and they found out that they may be perfect for being a creative director. And this can examine how that relates to you. So whatever is your career, you can talk about it. Next, you should also be thinking, step 6, not only identifying who you are and what is your environment and what is your career style or learning style, communicating style, but also identify what are the trends and the technology around you. How can you use the technology to improve your future? Almost all of you know about Facebook, but how many of you have a LinkedIn profile already? Yebin, do you have a LinkedIn profile?
No.
Oh, so if you apply to a job and it is 2021, you should assume that HR manager will check your social media profile. They will check you out online before they offer you an interview. And so if they only check and see your drunk party pictures in Facebook, that won't make you look very good. LinkedIn is just like Facebook, but it makes you look professional. It will help develop your career. So please learn about that. Set up a LinkedIn profile, and it's a lot easier. For example, in our class, you need to do a term project. And if you want to interact with a company, you can go to LinkedIn and just put the company name. And then they will tell you 100 people that are working or worked before for that company, and you can send them a message. It's as easy as that. It's the easiest way to start some type of survey or interaction with a company. And the more contact you have with the company, the more you will know about it. And so the more you know about it, the better you will be able to do the job and impress interviews. So start yesterday. Next, Google Analytics and Facebook Analytics or Insights program. All of you know that Google is connected to YouTube. They're also connected with edX. They're also connected with the old Motorola or Google Scholar or Translate, Insights, Transparency Reports. But you should also be aware that idea that some people say the best way to use Facebook or social media is to just go through, provide information, keep things positive, provide a link, be mobile friendly, be available, engage with users, and provide an image. This is what Harvard initially said is the best way to get the most benefit out of social media. Well, that's wrong. Absolutely wrong. That is just the low-end user's guide. It's not for the most benefit. You know that Donald Trump hired companies to use Facebook and it helped him win the election. in 2016 and started from 2014. That idea is so famous that Facebook had to pay a $5 billion fine because people are using it so much to identify almost every person in the United States, their interests, what they like, what they don't like, who they follow, who are their friends. And so we can identify almost all of your preferences and make information to convince you of almost anything we want. And so Donald Trump and many other people have done that. That's the Netflix video talked about that. And so this is not the best way to use Facebook. The best way to use Facebook is to understand these types of things. Google Insights, for example, will just, for example, let's say you want to sell cars in China versus United States. You know, Chinese customers are going to think of something different than what the people in the United States like. And so this insights will allow you to identify these details. Ulugbeck or Jessica or Yubin, Gulcano, have you used insights or analytics before? Can you explain this to our group? Anybody?
Pardon?
Are any of you familiar with using Google Insights or Facebook analytics programs?
No.
No? Wow. Okay. That's a shock. Your life can change with it. Yes, go ahead. Was that Jessica? You want to say something?
I have used it for like 1 or 2 times. It shows you, what are the most requested searches on Google, depending on like the topic and in which location.
Okay, so I think what you said was you have used it to find what is the most popular search in Google, those type of things?
Yeah.
So if you are interested in fashion marketing or luxury brand marketing, then you can go through and have Google narrow things down just to luxury items, and Google will say within luxury items, what do people around the world type in and look for the most? So when you're advertising, if you use those words, those keywords, those customers will come to you much faster. And so you get much, much better results. That idea that I was talking about, just make it in this simple way with photos, that's baloney. That just attracts your mom or your close friends. And most new people will not see it. Only if you do this type of thing, you will find the new customers and new jobs, new clients. And so if you're selling cars in Beijing, you could identify that safety, price, quality, popularity, those are the keywords that most people in Beijing, in China, in the last 12 months are looking for. And even with these, it will tell you price, for example, is most important. And if you double click on price, it will tell you the price of the product or the price of the options or the price of the insurance or the accessory, all of those things. Same thing if you do it in New York, it will tell you the same types of things, but the customers in New York, they also want price the most, but then they want a lot of safety info. And then they want a lot of warranty info. And then you also must do advertising talking about quality info. So how you advertise in each area around the world must change because the people change. And this tells you how to make those ads. If we go into it a little bit more, this is what the Facebook Insights starts to look like. It, it can give the number of likes or the reach that you're getting, or the number of visits and posts and the people. What I like even more, if you don't understand this, go to YouTube Analytics and you can learn about it. You can learn how you can make money from it, how you can get audience watching longer, how you can get people engaged more. This is what I really like to focus on. This idea here, you can see, for example, using Twitter or any social media, maybe you have a very low amount of followers or users, but then one day you have a lot more followers, a lot more activity. And these programs, the Insights Analytics programs, will tell you The reason why you're getting success now is because you made this funny post on socialfresh.com. And that means you need to do more of that. Make more of those posts and you'll get more followers. Whatever it is that is getting people, it will tell you, and just do more of that. The things that don't get followers, stop wasting your time. And at the same time, if you're successful, then all of a sudden everybody stops. Maybe you scared people away and it will tell you why. But here, you know, you're lucky because it identifies that was a holiday weekend. And so you are just focused on work. And so people aren't looking at you during the holiday weekend. So it tells you what to promote and what not to promote. And as you can see here, where are most customers, which country, which state, what are their main interests, what are the top interests, whether it's technology, business, finance, all of those type of things, and who are the main followers. So as you can see here, the idea of Jay Bauer is following 22% of everything you're doing. He could be your biggest source of revenue. And so if you focus on satisfying him or find more people like him, that will give you much more results.
Yes, Professor, I have a
Yes.
question.
Mhm.
Yeah, because the trend it always change following time, right? So how we can orientate ourselves to the trend, because the trend is only applied in the period time, the short period
No,
time.
no, that's not exactly right. Google has been working the same way ever since Google started. Ever since anybody started information into the internet, that information is saved and Google knows it. Google is using that information in the cloud to identify what is valuable and what customers like or they don't like. So as we see on my screen here, the time keeps passing, but the information is still saved. There's a crazy amount of information. That's why they call it big data. And you can, if you want, you can narrow it down just to the last 12 months, or just to the last 6 months, or just to the last week, what people are looking for. That's your choice. But all of the information is out there. That's why it's called big data.
So whether we can predict the next trend to orientate ourselves to that trend to earn more or promote myself.
Well, big data can't promise you the future, but absolutely, it shows you the trends. It shows you what people are doing. So absolutely, it helps you predict for sure. That's why this program, Google Insights and social media analytics, those are new programs. They basically started after the year 2000, because in the year 2000, that's when we had Y2K, and the huge billion-dollar companies then, the multinational companies, they would spend, almost every one of them in every country, they would spend about $3 million on programs to learn this. What is our company doing? Where is our product in our development? Where are the suppliers? What do the customers like? All of the big companies manage that big data. That's how they continue to be much more successful than small companies. Why I'm talking about it, if you have $3 million, go ahead, buy that MIS systems or ERP systems. It will guaranteed, it will help you. But if you don't have $3 million to invest, then this insights or analytics programs are almost the same thing, but they're free. And so there's Google programs like this, and there's Facebook, and almost all social media have these analytics and insights programs. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Other than that, I remember some of the students here, you were talking about wanting to be a business owner. And so I just thought I would show I am connected with that quite a bit. Can you guys still hear me? It got really quiet. Beck, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. So if you want to start your own company, it doesn't matter how many years you've worked. Whether it's 1 to 2 years or 3 to 5 years, 6 to 7, 11 to 20, it doesn't matter how many years you worked in order to get success with a new business. However, it does seem to matter what type of company you've worked for. It says that less than 10% of all successful entrepreneurs come from big company, large firm backgrounds. And 57% of successful entrepreneurs come from working with small businesses. Can you guess why? When you work for a big company with more than 1,000 workers, each worker has a very specific job, and you're not supposed to do the job of somebody else. You're only supposed to do yours. And so you only learn that one thing. But if you're working for a small business, there's a very high chance you have to do everything. You have to do the HR, you have to do the marketing, you have to do the management, the operations, the sweeping the floor, taking the garbage out. And so since you do everything and you learn everything, you know what is required to run a business. And so you just start on your own. So working for small businesses is one way that helps you become successful and start your own business. So keep that in mind, since a lot of people, for example, if they want to be a consultant, they want to work for like McKinsey Consulting, one of the world's biggest companies. And working for McKinsey or Samsung, it looks very good when you put a picture on your wall or your degree or your award from working for this famous company. But you learn much more and you learn how to be more successful from those small businesses. And with the education as it shows, it doesn't really matter. When you start your own business, what is more important is you learn about your focus, your abilities. If you want to develop yourself, the college or advanced degree or high school doesn't make that much of a difference. What helps the most is learning about your specialty. So use your class activities to develop your activities now. So I'm going to try to finish talking now. I've talked for about 45 minutes so far. These are some books that I highly recommend you read, like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That teaches you how to be effective. This is by the same person teaching you how to prioritize. This book teaches you how you can start a new business, even as a hobby. This book on the outliers teaches you how almost everybody in the world is the same. A small difference is your environment. All the way to the end. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one of the best books to help you get financial security going forward. So you see these details. Yibin Park, are you aware of the 80-20 rule? Pareto's law?
No.
No? Okay. Anybody here know of the 80-20 rule?
I do think so.
Okay, can you explain it?
I think it says that 80% of the work, like 80% of your
Results
outcome
and benefit?
of
Yes.
your result, yeah, exactly. It's done within 20% of the work, and if you want to reach those last 20% of your outcome, you have to put 80% effort in.
Right. So everybody tries to work 100%. And you'll try to do, you should be trying to do a good job with every activity we're working on. So when you are working, now that you know this research, the research shows even though you're putting 100% into all different activities, you should always try to focus on that 20% that gives you the best results, because 80% of all of your benefit, 80% of your cash, 80% of your awards, 80% of your revenue comes from the top 20% of our customers. So if we go back, where is it here, for example, you can see in your activities in social media, you do some activities here, 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 here. But just this one activity gives you 80% or more of your followers. So try to find out what is that one activity that gets best results and do more of it. What is that activity that gives you the best customer, that pays you the best, and find more customers just like that. So that's what we're talking about. That's the 80-20 rule. And Henry Kissinger, I don't like that guy at all, but he's famous because he says you should only plan 70% of your schedule. He was saying that leave 30% always open in case those top VIP ever need something, or in case of distractions. So if you have questions, let me know. I have 100 other slides. What I could show you these, but I'm not going to waste too much of your time. I have summarized the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. 1 habit, 2 habit, 3 habits, 4, 5, 6, 7 habits. Same thing for how to win friends and influence people. The more friends, the more network, the more connections you have, the more successful you will be. So try to get as many successful connections as you can, especially when you're traveling internationally. So when you go back to your home, some of the people you're studying with in the future will be perhaps your most valuable connections. So this teaches that. 6 ways to make people like you. The idea of 12 ways to win people to your way of thinking to help with negotiation. Here's the other details. More ideas about how to change people without giving offense or resentment. More details about how to be a leader. There's lots of information here. Same thing. I think I talked in class already about this video, talking about how the world is not created fair. The world is created where everybody thinks it's supposed to be fair, but the reality is this, right? What Americans think, the distribution of money, they think that the top 20% have almost half of the money, and then they think that it's like this. This video shows you that no, the top 1% has almost 50%. And the bottom amount of people, the regular staff, have almost nothing. So be aware of those details as we're going forward. And this talks about it. Since we are global and people from many different countries, it is a good idea to identify the other countries around you. For example, we need to do papers, we need to do research. You can partner with somebody from Monaco or Luxembourg and be prepared to pay them over $100,000 a year to partner and work with you. Or you could go to places like North Korea, hire somebody there, or people in India or Kenya, and $1,000 there, you can hire somebody for a full year to do research for you, and they speak English well, so they can edit things for you. So be aware of those things, work efficiently, don't waste your time on time wasters. Find out where 80% of your benefit comes from and maybe outsource the rest. If you're wasting a lot of time just finding articles, maybe you can ask somebody in Kenya or ask somebody in Nepal, where they speak English well, and they're paid less than $100 a month. They could find these articles for you, help you do the research for you. Some people say, oh, isn't that cheating? Well, is Jeff Bezos cheating for outsourcing to his office managers and secretaries? Is Bill Gates? All of the successful people in the world, they prioritize and use the 80-20 rule to focus their time, their brain, their thinking on what is best, and use that to develop your careers. So with that said, I'm not going to waste too much of your time. I want to just point out the idea of grants. You know that you could get a grant if it's just putting in 100 words about your university, 100 words about who you want to work with, 100 words describe what you want to focus and research on, 100 words why the world cares, then how much money you want, and then understand that just individual CEOs, did you know that Tim Cook, basically in his very first year of work as the CEO, was paid $378 million for 1 year of work? A lot of people don't realize those big picture details. A lot of people don't realize companies like Chrysler or Citibank or Citi Foundation. These companies are billion or trillion dollar companies, and they have to give money back. So if you contact their foundation, Chrysler Foundation, Citi Foundation, Comcast Foundation, with these type of grants, you could get these grants and get experts to help you do some work to help your future. At the same time, you can use it to help some dream employer you want to work with. So don't just follow everybody else. Don't be a sheep. Think outside of the box. Think about how you can be a specialist now and interact with these employers today. Reason why I created this session is students didn't talk to me about what they really want to do yet. And students didn't really tell me Elon Musk is something really valuable. How can we really talk to him? So if you tell me what you really want, then I can really use my resources and experiences and connections to help you. So I'm done talking. Any questions?
So I have this question, like
Okay.
with the undergrad student, they don't have many experiments, or they cannot solve up haven't solved up name. So how they can improve that? How they can improve with the grant or everyone in the angel investigator that he said they have the plan or the real or possible plan that and their ability.
Good. Let's talk about that. The answer is related to everything I've been saying. The answer is look at the big picture. Look at your environment. So what is your environment? What is your environment? So Jessica, can you tell me if you're going to apply for a grant, and let's pretend you've never had a job before and you don't have a university yet, and you're asking some famous multinational company for $100,000, if it's just a student asking, you will probably get rejected. They will probably say no. So what is your big environment? Who is around you? What is around you? What could help? Anybody? Jessica or Ibn Park, Lucano, Ulugbeck? Any guess?
If I wouldn't be in university, probably some friends could help if they are working for a company. They might know some people who you could talk to.
Okay, so yeah, maybe you have friends that are working for companies. And so your friends have a better resume than you. They're going to be trusted more than you. So yeah, you could invite them. Great, that's a good start. But who else is around you that is interested in you developing, that has more qualifications or education or experiences? Anybody?
You.
Yes, me. Not just me, but every one of your professors, right? Your professor's job is to help you be successful. If your professor can say, wow, my student got their dream job and is working with Elon Musk, that professor becomes famous. The university becomes famous. That university gets to rise in ranking. So the university wants to help you. That's why I'm doing this. I have like 20 students, and almost every professor in KAC, they have to, by university contract, help 35 to 40 students get their dream. They have to help them be successful. So if you have a grant application, your team, same thing as if you contact a company, if you want to survey a company, if you want to get them to be a guest speaker or work with your research project, do not just go by yourself. Remember your environment. You are part of a team. Don't say class. It is the class, but it's part of a team. Saying you're a team or a research group, that's better than just saying a class. And how big is your group? Yes, maybe Gulkano and Jessica, maybe your team partners or teammates, but don't forget your team is about 20 different students in our class, and there's 20,000 students in the university. If you try to contact Elon Musk, for example, there's a very strong chance that every student in the university wants to join and listen. So you can easily say you're part of a group of 20,000 people. And some of them, like me, I'm definitely in your team. I have the PhD. I have 30 years of formal education, 20 years of executive work experience. I am part of your team. The director, the president of the university, obviously is part of your team. The vice president of the university is part of your team. So when you ask for a grant for somebody, or when you try to talk to a person about having some interaction, think about that. Who is in your environment? Who could be in your team that relates? Of course, yes, you cannot lie, but you need to look at the big picture. You don't apply for $1 million grant from a student that has almost no resume. You say, if I go back and just show that, with a grant application, let me just show those details again. Here. So when we take a look at this, describe your organization. That is saying your university. It's not just you by yourself. You are, you should think of yourself as an organization, but think of the university and think bigger than that. Make sure you have the open mind. If you have, for example, Jessica, which university did you come from before joining the university here in Korea?
Just a small one. It's the University of Applied Sciences of Ingolstadt in Germany, so it's not that known.
Did you say in Paris, in France?
No, in Ingolstadt, Germany.
In Germany, okay.
Yeah.
And Yibin Park, are you an exchange student? Did you come from a different area? Or Gulkano, did you come from a different university?
No.
All of you people, you can realize, for example, that Jessica is part of us. She is part of our organization. So you're not just saying Kim Young University is the organization, right? Kim Young University is only part of the organization. You're also working with the organization in Germany, or there's people from organizations and universities in Vietnam, and I can introduce other professors from India or Canada or United States. So when you're describing your organization, keep that in mind. Think of the big picture and who is going to be engaged in the project. You probably don't want to say your name because you don't have many qualifications. If you can get your professor involved, or the director of the research program at the university involved, or the vice president or president of the university involved, all they need to do is just advise you or be a supervisor, and they will benefit. Maybe it only takes 30 minutes every month just to ask them questions and show them what you're doing. Then they are engaged in your project, and so you will talk about them and their qualifications. Understand? That will make your grant application rise in ranking. So when you apply, you use the people that have the most qualifications, the best resume, the most experience. And you use people from a bigger organization, not just a small you and one other person. So the university is better than applying as an individual. And if you can also get another company to help, you can include that other company. 2 organizations is more reliable to work with than 1, or 2 universities is better than 1, or universities from 2 countries, it's more reliable and it looks better than just applying from 1. So all of those details will increase your chances of success with a grant.